business insight and in-depth features on companies, people, strategies, ideas, and economic trends. The Financial Times offers an unrivaled platform for advertisers to enhance brand awareness and move products. We will enable you to reach confident and informed consumers and decision makers who are ready to buy, which includes company CEOs, CFOs, managers, entrepreneurs, policymakers in government, politics and civil society, diplomats, members of the academia, and other key influencers. See examples of advertisement opportunities featured in Financial Times T sections below: telecom sections, real estate section, company news, banking, finance and insurance industry, information technology, national, regional and global markets overview, motoring, lifestyle. Get your copy of Financial Times for only 2,000 Tanzania shillings only.
News tonight. 11 suspects of economic sabotage taken to court. President Uhuru Kenyatta opens of national exam papers during sudden visit to Uhuru Gardens Primary School. And national beach soccer team head coach names 18-player squad. Good evening. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. First, the national news. 11 suspects who were arrested during an operation to search for illegal goods contraband, which was supervised by the Commissioner of Shinyanga region in Kahama district, have been taken to court at the Shinyanga Resident Magistrate Court and charged with economic sabotage. As the charges against the suspects were being read out to them before 4 magistrates of the court, Janet Masesa, Charles Whistle, Denia Luvungo, and the senior magistrate of the Shinyanga Regional Court, Upendo Madia, the state prosecutors Margaret Ndaweka and Juma Masanja, said that the suspects are being charged with money laundering, the storage of products that have not been registered inside a warehouse, which is against the law governing food and medicine section 1 of 2003. The forgery of the business labels of various companies and deliberate reduction of the weight of the goods which they are selling, among other accusations. Despite that, the suspects and their lawyers, Godwin Simbagilimi, Gervas Geneva and Masanja Masalu, were not requested to respond until the case comes up for another mention on 12th November this year. Now, the government intends to find a big investor to produce coal so as to help investors from various countries using the resource for production of cement and others to be sold out of the country after it was discovered that Tanzania produces a significant amount of the product and that it can be used to grow the economy, brought the industrial sector.
What has been done regarding all areas that produce coal is to get investment which can produce coal in large scale so that coal produced inside the country can be used by our industries and any access to be exported. We have been able to implement this with coal produced in Ngaka in Ruvuma that supplies coal in a lot of manufacturing companies. I have been informed that this particular company requires 4,500 tons per day, which is equivalent to 500 lorries per day loading and offloading. As the government, we shall take this into consideration and see how we can enable them. We are requesting for one title deed to be revoked. This farm, you see, has been neglected for over 26 years, so land can be distributed to the people.
The Inspector General of Police of Tanzania, IGP Simon Sero, has given a warning to all those people who are involved in the transportation of coffee via illegal routes from Kagera region to neighboring countries. The people involved in this illegal business use the border areas which separate Kagera region from the neighboring countries, which are Rwanda, Burundi and Uganda. IGP Sero, who is continuing with his working tour of Kagera region, gave the warning while in Karagwe district after meeting with some Kagera regional government leaders and officers of the police force.
Hawa wanaofanya magendo ya kahawa.
Those involved in smuggling coffee and other products are known. So what we are going to do now is, first, I would like to ask them to stop immediately before the operation begins. Because once the operation starts, then all those known to be involved in smuggling trade will be arrested, and they should not blame the police force. What do you expect when you cross the border? I ask those doing so to stop immediately because it is against the law. Anyone doing so can't be responsible for what happens to them because no one is there to protect you. They're waiting for money after having stayed in the bush for 3 days when a police officer working with his colleague volunteered to go and rescue them.
People who are engaged in various activities at the main Mbinga bus stand and others who engage in different dealings in areas surrounding the bus stand have become alarmed after huge cracks in the wall of the gigantic multi-story building housing the station appeared. The building housing the bus stand was opened by the president of the fourth phase government, Jakaya Kikwete, in 2014, and it costed more than 2 billion shillings to build as a result of a loan from the World Bank. The councillor of Mbinga Ward, Mr. Frank Mgeni, has said that the municipality has suffered a loss after the contractor handed over a bus standard building.
It has very bad cracks which can crumble in time and cause injury to people around here. I ask the government to help us. The government has not invested in the right infrastructure for this station. You see, there are travelers from other parts of the country who use this station. The current condition is embarrassing. This building was already handed over to the municipal council, so this is a loss that the municipal council will have to absorb in receiving a building that was below standard. And it is not just the building. It is not fit for use, but also the infrastructure in place is also poor.
The government has banned livestock keepers and farmers in High District Kilimanjaro region from entering into an agreement to feed livestock in farmers' lands after harvest, which has led to conflict that is threatening peace. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, Elsante Olegabriel, said this when speaking to pastoralists of the Maasai community from 8 villages of Kia Ward who are fighting for grazing areas.
Ningeomba muendelee kufuga kibiashara.
My request to you is to do modern livestock keeping. It is a good thing to have a large herd of cattle, but you must think about having cattle that can produce a lot of kilograms rather than just having a large herd. Conflict resolution is one thing, but how soon you get to the conflict area is key. I ask other leaders across the country not to wait for high authority. I believe that if we have the urge to resolve conflicts quickly, then it will be a very significant factor. Livestock keepers have been arrested in numerous occasions for allegedly allowing livestock to enter Kia. When I make a follow-up, I'm told that the directive to do so came from Katgo, and this has caused a lot of livestock keepers to leave this area.
Paumbele namba moja ni kuhangaika na shida zenu wananchi.
My first priority is to address your grievances. The government shall not tolerate any unjust treatment of the livestock community. Kadko, where do you get permission to bring in the police force? Wherever you are, these are my instructions to OCD2. Any dispute involving the livestock community and Kadko, any arrests made should be authorized by the OCD.
The acting regional commissioner of Mara, Lydia Bupilipili, had led thousands of residents of Mara, Mwanza and Simiyu regions in the funeral of the late Isaac Gamba, a reporter of the Kiswahili division of Radio Deutsche Welle, which were held today in Wanyele village. Condolences from the Minister of Information, Culture and Sports, Dr. Harrison Mwakembe, were delivered by the Managing Director of the Union of Tanzania Press Club, the UTPC, Abubakar Karsan, before the late Isaac Gamba, who passed away on October 18th of this year in Germany due to a brain aneurysm, was laid to rest.
If you're not careful how you report your stories, you will kill Tanzanians. You must stop doing so and begin balancing your stories. Before you air the story, Isaac Gamba was employed in DW because he spoke Kiswahili. We should not despise it. He has received with great sadness the passing of Isaac Gamba, who is a great journalist in Tanzania, who passed away in Germany. He says here that he knew Gamba to be an outstanding journalist here in Tanzania and now even when he went to Germany, and that he had also worked with various companies in Arusha, Mwanza, Dar es Salaam and later on in Germany. Honorable Minister also says that during that time Isaac carried his duties with dignity and he would like to convey the condolences to the bereaved family members, his fellow colleagues, and all Tanzanians, wherever they are. Gamba had a special voice. No one could tire of listening to him. When he was on radio, he fought for what he believed. There is so much to talk about Gamba, which I cannot say it all. We at ITV and Radio 1 shall miss him. He has gone ahead of us, but it is a journey that all of us one day shall ultimately have to take. What remains is to pray for him to rest in peace. My condolences to the family.
May his soul rest in peace. Amen. Now, businessman Akram Aziz has been taken before Kisutu Resident Magistrate Court facing 75 charges of economic sabotage, including being found with government documents, weapons, bullets, and for laundering $9,018. The accused charges were read to him by government prosecutors Paul Kadushi and Faraja Mchimbi before resident judge Augustine Rizile. The accused was not allowed to say anything because the court has no authority to hear the case, which has to go to the High Court. The case has been adjourned to November 12th, where it will become up for another mention if investigations are complete. Now, moving on, the President of Zanzibar and the Chairman of the Revolutionary Council, Dr. Ali Mohammed Shein, has officially announced that the Kivunge and Makunduchi hospitals will be district hospitals. Dr. Shein made this statement immediately after launching the oral and dental department of the Kivunge Hospital, which is located in North Unguja region.
The people of Northern Unguja will now be able to have a modern hospital that shall admit more patients and give a better service to its people. We shall not allow for our people to pay for services that the government has announced are to be accessed free of charge. If such services are not available, the government will say otherwise. So if anyone is paying or selling medicine, strict measures will be taken against such individuals. There has been renovations made to the infrastructure of the hospital that includes construction of 2 primary care centers worth 570 million Tanzanian shillings.
And Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner Paul Makonda has announced the task force which combines Tanzania Communication Regulatory Authority, TCRA, the police force and doctors that will deal with people engaged in prostitution and homosexuality in Dar es Salaam, including through social media networks.
Tumeunda kamati itakayokuwa na watu wasiopungua 17. Na ndani ya hiyo kamati watakuwepo polisi, watakuwepo TCRA, watakuwepo
A committee made of at least 17 people has been formed, of which some of the committee members shall include members of the police force, TCRA, Tanzania Film Board members, doctors, but also councillors. And they shall start working in our campaign against homosexuality and prostitution in our center based in Burahati. This is aimed at protecting children in our region from globalization. Business has changed a lot and the internet is now misused. There are people, of course, who use the internet to do legitimate business, but there are those who are using the internet to do illegal business. We have information on people practicing homosexuality and of houses where pornography production takes place.
And that is the end of national news. International news follows next.
The relaunched Financial Times is the premier business newspaper in Tanzania. The Financial Times is a weekly source of information and business insight for the most successful leaders, executives, investors, and entrepreneurs in Tanzania and throughout the East Africa region. We provide critical business insight and in-depth features on companies, people, strategies, ideas, and economic trends. The Financial Times offers an unrivaled platform for advertisers to enhance brand awareness and move products. We will enable you to reach confident and informed consumers and decision makers who are ready to buy, which includes company CEOs, CFOs, managers, entrepreneurs, policymakers in government, politics and civil society, diplomats, members of the academia and other key influencers. See examples of advertisement opportunities featured in Financial Times sections below. Telecom sections, real estate section, company news, banking, finance and insurance industry, information technology, national, regional and global markets overview, motoring, lifestyle. Get your copy of Financial Times for 2,000 Tanzania shillings only.
Welcome back, and in international news tonight. With the national exams on their third day in Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta has conducted a sudden visit at Uhuru Gardens Primary School in Nairobi, where he witnessed the opening of the examination papers.
Are you prepared well?
Yes! We're here just to encourage you. We know you will put effort in doing well in your exams. And my promise is that so long as you have done your best, everyone will find a place in secondary school.
Chancellor Angela Merkel has welcomed 11 African leaders to Berlin for a German-African summit. Our Deutsche Welle correspondent Thomas Sparer and Capital Television's Vanessa Victor have more on this.
11 African heads of state have met with Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin to take stock of the G20 Compact with Africa initiative. Chancellor Merkel said that this project puts African countries and the West on an equal footing. With me is our correspondent from Deutsche Welle, Thomas Sparer, to discuss this further. Thomas, what was the exact aim of the summit?
Well, the exact aim of the summit was to review what has happened with this project, the Compact with Africa, which was initially a project launched by Germany when Germany in 2017 presided over the G20. You may remember the G20 summit in Hamburg. You may remember as well that Africa was a key focus of Germany as part of the G20 presidency, and the summit here in Berlin, which was, by the way, described as the biggest summit so far between Germany and Africa in Germany, was precisely to review what has happened since that project was launched, how the countries have been evolving, how they have been progressing with their bilateral commitments, with their reform partnerships and so on. So that was one of the key goals. Here Angela Merkel, when she inaugurated the summit in Berlin, in fact not far away from where we are standing now, she spoke, as you mentioned, about the idea of working hand in hand with Africa on an equal footing. In other words, not only speaking about Africa, but working hand in hand equally with African countries on these partnerships.
Well, as this summit was taking place, unfortunately, there were protests being held outside. Can you tell us a bit more about these protests and what they were about?
Exactly. I was in fact standing for some part yesterday outside of the venue where this was taking place, and you're right that there were protesters. I spoke, for example, to some protesters from Togo who were saying that they would have liked for the Togolese leader to actually come out and speak to them. They were talking about the conditions in their country, and they were concerned that these partnerships were just signed by political leaders in that venue, but they were asking whether that would have any direct effect on the population itself. And that is in fact one of the concerns that people have been expressing on these reform packages. Who will actually benefit the most? How will this actually benefit populations in those African countries that are taking part in these reform and these compacts with Africa, as they're called? So that was certainly one element yesterday. There are other areas and other aspects where there have been, if not criticism, at least questions. For example, how sustainable this is, whether this is just something that will depend on Angela Merkel and the respective African leaders, or how they can make this whole project a long-term, lasting project. There have also been questions as to whether this is actually new, or whether we're talking about some solutions that were already on the table many years ago. Angela Merkel clearly stressed yesterday that this is a new, different approach of that equal footing that we spoke, but there have been questions, there has been criticism when it comes to these Compact with Africa programs, and some of those questions have come, as you said, from people who were yesterday outside the venue protesting from different countries, and obviously for different reasons, but in general asking how the general population in the respective countries will benefit from these reform agreements.
Well, we've spoken quite a bit about the fact that Chancellor Angela Merkel is on a bit of a shaky ground in Germany in terms of politics. And the fact that these protests were opposing Germany doing business with dictators, does that affect Chancellor Merkel's already shaky standing with Germans in any way?
Well, Angela Merkel, as you know, had a very important announcement earlier this week that she will not seek re-election as party leader at the party conference in December, and that she will step down as German Chancellor when her current term ends in 2021. So obviously those announcements to some extent overshadowed the summit with African leaders. Many people asking here about what this means for Germany and Africa now that Angela Merkel is losing slowly but surely her power, and her term as Chancellor has already been expressed as one that will come to an end in 2021. Again, her goal was to try and make sure that this is in a way sustainable, that it is not something that depends on her being in office, or on Germany having the G20 presidency, or on specific African countries willing to enter these compacts. That is something more long-term, and that's why, for example, international organizations were also invited to take part in this compact with Africa. The goal here is to make sure that this project, irrespective of who is leading it, can actually be sustainable and in a way also successful. As far as the protests are concerned, I don't think that that will affect Angela Merkel's government as such, but it does mean that Angela Merkel wants to continue in a way her work as Chancellor, and she doesn't want to let that announcement on Monday overshadow her work as Chancellor and also her key foreign policy priorities. And as we know, one of the key foreign policy priorities for Angela Merkel is working hand in hand with these African countries that form part of this compact with Africa. And there are many other projects as well the German ministries and the German government have launched in order to work more and more with African countries.
Thank you very much, Thomas. We look forward to see what the likely outcomes of this compact summit will be.
And that is the end of International News Business News. Follow us shortly.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
To be rich, I have to be a business person.
It's not an easy road at all.
People need to understand. You must quickly think, how cost effective are you going to be?
Business acts as a way in which it can bridge that gap.
Business Edition will keep you informed on latest developments in the financial sector, extractive industry, tourism, agriculture, energy, construction, and so much more. Meet entrepreneurs who create employment opportunities. Watch Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
Welcome back, and in business news. Tanzania Meat Board has directed meat businesses to follow procedures of the meat business in all stages, from slaughtering, storing and sale, so as to protect the health of the customer.
It has to be transported on cars or qualified vehicles, because meat cannot just be transported anyhow. Also, meat is to be sold in qualified butchery for safety consumery in order to avoid diseases.
Kwa usalama wanyama na kuepusha magonjwa.
The strategies of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, working with the government of Tanzania, TIRDO and TEMDO to technology enable middle-level factories to process vegetables has led to the product's successful entry in the global market.
Many, when the project started working with them, had already reached national level, which is under the supervision of TBS. But as you have seen layouts of the three companies, the project enabled them more until all the three companies are on international level ISO.
Wameweza kufikia kuweza kuzingatia viwango vya kimataifa, yani ISO. Kwa kufanya hivyo,
by doing so, step by step, they have been enabled to produce quality products and ensure better packaging so as to reach on international market, but also on national market in the tourism sector. Through this, we have learned and got a big emphasis, which made us do well in the market, and at the end, Red Gold has been recognized East African-wise.
And entrepreneurs ordering importing second-hand underwear banned by the government have been directed to stop selling those clothes, as they have a negative effect on users, and harsh legal measures will be taken against those who do continue to engage in the business, including confiscation of the garments.
TBS kama TBS ina jukumu la kuandaa na kusimamia viwango.
TBS has a responsibility of creating and overlooking on quality levels. Like today, we came checking on undergarments and we were able to get them from different markets, which we will take and destroy them, as the law directs us.
Tutachukua bidhaa hizi zinaenda kuteketezwa kama sheria inavyotuambia. Zoezi hili ni tunalifahamu, ni endelevu toka muda tu.
This exercise is continuous and we are aware of it for a long time. This type of clothing are not allowed. And there are some vendors who sell them, but others we sell different kinds, like skirts and blouses. But again, what to do? You know, people are in search for an income.
And that is the end of business news. Sports news follows next.
Hi, my name is Kotaro Tokuda.
What's up? My name is Sean Garnier.
I'm John Barnes from Liverpool Football Club. The hip, hop, a hip, the hip, hop. You don't stop the rockin' to the bang bang boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear?
I'm watching Sports Gazette.
I'm watching Sport Gazette.
And you're watching Sports Gazette
with Sebastian.
With Sebastian. Peace out.
Yes! And you can also watch Sports Gazette for highlights and interviews regarding sports. Do not miss Sports Gazette every Wednesday at 7 p.m. only on Capital Television.
And in sports news, the national beach soccer team head coach Boniface Pawasa has named an 18-player squad which will start training for the African Cup of Nations scheduled to take place this December in Egypt, with a Tembisa youth team coach Musa Hassan Mgosi and KMC Goali Juma Kaseja included.
We say we are in the field of battle. If we have the will and reason, and we promise Tanzanians that we will not fail them. Because when you enter the field, anything can happen. Exposure and experience don't matter. We won't be scared of anybody, but we will respect every team that is in our group.
Young Africans player Mohamed Issa, who was signed from Mtibwa this season, has been handed a 14-month ban from football after being found guilty of using marijuana during international duty with Zanzibar.
Kamati imemkuta na hatia na imemfungia kwa kipindi cha miezi 14.
The committee has found him guilty and banned him for 14 months from December 9th, 2018 to February 8th, 2019. When serving the ban, he will not be allowed to do anything which relates to football, but he is also not allowed to train in public because he is not allowed to be seen participating.
Lipuli head coach Suleiman Matola admits their biggest mistake in last night's 1-0 defeat to Yanga was to let in early goal.
I can say it's only God. If you check yesterday's game, you can say God helped them because we controlled the whole game. The goal was an easy one, and that is what we regret because it was our defender's mistake. He awarded them a goal. We can say he awarded them, but it was a very easy goal, and that pains us a lot, but it is part of football.
The expansion of the World Cup from 32 to 48 teams could be brought forward from 2026 to 2022, says FIFA President. Here's more on the story.
The change will require Qatar to share 2022 hosting duties with other countries in the region. The decision has already been taken to expand the tournament in 2026, when it will be held in the USA, Canada and Mexico, and Infantino is now considering doing the same for 2022. If it's possible, why not, he said. Speaking at the opening of the Asian Football Confederation's new headquarters in Kuala Lumpur, Infantino also reiterated his plans to expand the Club World Cup.
Riot police had to protect referee Andre Cunha as a River Plate bet Grêmio with a late penalty in an incredible Copa Libertadores semi-final. Here's more on the story.
Gonzalo Martinez scored a spot kick given via the video assistant referee in the 5th of 14 added minutes. Defender Bressan, who considered the penalty for handball, was sent off as remonstrated with Cunha, with play held up as Grêmio's players protested. River Plate won the second leg 2-1 and went through on the way goals rule. The Argentine side beaten 1-0 at home in the first leg, went further behind when Leo Gomez scored for the Brazilian holders after 35 minutes in Porto Alegre.
And the helicopter carrying the Leicester City owner appeared to be operating normally moments before it crashed, an expert has said. Here's more on the story.
Vishai Prabha and 4 others were killed in the crash outside the King Power Stadium on Saturday. Aviation expert David Lamore said a widely shared video showed the aircraft complete an awkward takeoff without issues before getting into difficulty. Crash investigators are expected to move the wrecking in the next few days. As well as Mr. Vishai, Nusra Sukranamai, Kavenporn Punpare, pilot Eric Swaffer and his partner Isabella Rosa Lechowicz also died in the crash.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. Thank you for watching and good night.